Hey, we're live. I forgot to send out notifications. Anyway, we're just going to start today. I'm Lise Colucci. I am a life coach that specializes in narcissistic recovery and recovery from toxic relationships. So, if you have not been here before, welcome. And if you have, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't, hit subscribe and the thumbs up. Let's get started talking today about acceptance. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Still recovering from the cough thing. Anyway, are you totally stuck feeling like you need validation? So talk to me here. If you have experienced feeling like you need to be validated, feeling like you need proof that they're a narcissist, feeling like anything where you're asking, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Like over and over again, even though you have researched and figured out the answer. If you have this feeling of like not being able to move past them and understanding what they are and how they are and who they are, let's talk about acceptance. I prefer the word allowance. Allowance of the narcissist being a narcissist, and allowance that what that means is actually what it means, and that nothing you can do, nothing you can say, nothing you can put into the relationship, no therapy you do on yourself, no couples therapy, nothing is going to change who they are. They are who they are. And one of the hardest things for so many people is just accepting that their person that they're dealing with, their parent, their partner, their friend, whatever, their coworker, doesn't matter, is toxic, is narcissistic. Okay, here's the thing. We can't diagnose, so we're not going there. What we're talking about is narcissistic traits that are toxic patterns. Those toxic patterns create toxic relationships because the person creating these patterns doesn't make changes. They continue on with the toxic patterns. It's not our business, frankly, whether someone has a diagnosis. Okay. It doesn't help the situation. It doesn't help you heal the situation. I think that there's this grasping to that sometimes for people because they think, well, if they're not, then there's hope. I'm here to tell you, if they've been doing this years and years and years and years, and there's been no change despite everything you've tried and all of the therapies and all the everything that you've put into it, there's probably not much chance of that person changing enough to be healthy in a relationship. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of self-awareness. It takes a lot of humbleness, of letting go of your ego, of being open to change, to make any change in your life. And people who are toxic just won't do that. So let's talk about acceptance. Hello to everyone here. And I am so sorry I didn't send out a notification, but this was a last minute live stream. So here we are. Okay. Basically, what I have here is to see through the fog of cognitive dissonance, to be able to, excuse me a second. Okay. Just going to do this right now because they're everywhere. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm reading the chat real quick. And hang on, I got to do one thing here because U&A, hello, and thank you. And I don't know how to do this. Oh, there we go. Giving you some wrench. Okay. Okay. So, seeing through the cognitive dissonance, seeing through the fog of holding two beliefs that are opposing at the same time. It isn't about your belief about the person, it's what you're witnessing in the person that needs to be in your awareness more than how you feel about it, because your feelings are going to keep looping you into the same patterns and keep holding you there because there's something in you that needs healing, possibly, most likely, where you're clinging to these toxic relationships, trying to heal something in yourself through them. I've had more people than I can tell you say they need to win. And they don't mean win like I get the prize of, like, haha, I win. What they mean is win feeling loved, win feeling accepted, win the situation. If someone is so toxic and they can turn it around, then they become the thing they've always wanted to be, which is simply loved, worth it, to matter, to be a whole human being, right? And logically, smart people who have said this to me logically, they know this isn't the answer, but there's something stuck in the emotional loop, right? Of turning back toward these toxic people and completely overlooking the truth of who that toxic person is, even though they know it. The allowance that that person is what they are, they actually get really boring if you can do this really steadily. That toxic person becomes so boring because they are so predictable. They are so horrible to be around that eventually, hopefully, just by allowing that toxic person to be who they are, stop making excuses for them, stop covering up for them, stop finding reasons why they act this way. We all have had things in our past and we don't act that way, right? So stop doing all that and start to see exactly what the toxic person is so that you can uncover all this fog and get out of that cognitive dissonance in order to free yourself from these relationships. Let's see. What are we saying here? I no longer need validation from a toxic person. I am perfectly capable of providing my own validation. Yes, of course. Yes. And that's it. See, and I think that a lot of times people don't even realize they're seeking the validation. They just think that an answer will give them closure, except if the toxic person could only apologize for real or take some accountability, if they could. Well, here's the thing, they won't, they can't. And if they do, it's a Hoover and they're faking it and they will prove that they don't, or there'll be some like backhanded apology or some twisted apology that isn't even real, right? And you hear it like, I'm so sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry, it's all gaslighting. Okay. They gaslight through their apologies. And a toxic person, they won't change. They won't take accountability and they won't genuinely um admit what they did as toxic. They'll make excuses, they'll justify, and then there's the vulnerable type who will say it, but then will twist it and make it about you, your fault, or they become the victim. See, I'm just a terrible person, blah, 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 whatever, right? So none of that is yours. None of that is your problem. That is the toxic person's problem. And we keep going back into it because we're looking for something for ourselves, most likely. Okay. And so figuring out what that is for you can be a big step in getting through it. It's not like you figure it out and boom, it goes away. For a lot of people, it can be something to talk through, it can be something to work through. Um, of all the people I was saying that I've spoken to who have said they need to win, every single one of them has a different reason and a different personal uh, point of view of why they're continuing the cycle in their life by not allowing this acceptance to happen. Not and because it's something they need and it's individual. So talking through it can help. So again, if you need that, please check out the information in the description of every video because there's links for peer support, there's links for coaching, there's links for group coaching. So please check that out if you need it and get the help you need so that you can get to this place of fully allowing the toxic person to be what they are. I liken it to a shark in a tank. If you're going to jump in that tank, you better allow that shark to be a shark and do your best to protect yourself by being in a shark cage and not having attracting things that will bring that shark to you who is in the cage. You jump in and you pretend it's a goldfish and say, why is the shark doing this? You see, I'm not blaming people for being in it. What I'm saying is by allowing them to be what they are, you can get yourself out of it because it makes no sense to be in it. Excuse me. All right. So what are we saying here? Let's see. Okay. So I have a bunch of tips here for allowance or acceptance, as people say. I like allowance because acceptance means, to me, it means I accept what's happening, it's almost like survival. I can accept that. But there's still this feeling of having to put myself involved in that. Allowance is that person is what they are. That shark is what it is, right? The snake is what it is. It has nothing to do with me. I can allow that thing to be what it is and have it not relate back to me. It's not part of, it has nothing to do with me. So, okay. Um, See what is and don't listen to I'm trying to read my writing here. Don't listen to the internal gaslighting that you're doing to yourself about the person. Don't listen to so catch it. It's not that you got to get mad at yourself or judge yourself or anything like that. It's catching when you're making excuses, catching when you're um justifying, catching when you're not looking where you should look. Oh, but I love them. But we have had good times. You can have good times with anyone. And I'm here to tell you that when people say a lot, I'll never have whatever with another person because with a narcissist is just so special. You know what? That is almost always not true. It's almost always not true. It's just, it will be true if you don't leave the toxic person, right? Because they're the only one you'll ever interact with. All right. Affirm when you see the truth. Affirm to yourself, write it down, say it out loud. Tell yourself in your mind, whatever it is. Ah, I see that gaslighting. That's right. That's the pattern that they do. That is their communication style, not they're gaslighting me. Don't take it. Don't take it on anymore. When you start to allow them to be what they are, you stop taking on that they're doing it to you. They're doing it, period, because that's what they do. They're doing it because that's how they interact with people. And they don't relate in relationships. Okay. They bowl everyone over with their gaslighting and projecting and toxic behavior. All right. Another thing, make lists of the toxic things. Excuse me. I'm so sorry to cough in the middle. This is why I haven't been on here for 3 weeks, because I've had that cough thing that won't go away, and then I lost my voice. So it's okay. Healthy otherwise. All right. So make lists of the toxic things. We say this all the time. They help. Okay. Acknowledge the positive in your life and look at the contrast of what it is to be with that other person. This is why it's important. It's not just when I say go find like joy in your life or like 3 things you love about yourself, or it's not just to build you up, and it's not just to gloss over and like put some sparkles on top of the heavy yuck that's everywhere. It's so that you can find contrast. Oh my gosh, if I can find joy in these things, why the heck am I over there and doing that thing? Right? It's to help you break through it and break free. My aim here is to help you break free, not stay in these situations. And if you have to be in them and you can't get out, it's to help you cope and find a life outside of it, even though you're still in it. Does that make sense? Okay. Step back and see that the narcissist does this as a way of relating. It's not personal. I went over that already. Okay. You don't have to like it to allow it. You probably won't. It's not about making it right for you. It will never be right for you. You're with a toxic person, or you have a toxic parent or a toxic friend. That if that becomes right for you, I'm sorry. I don't know how to help at that point, right? But for real, you don't want it right for you. What you want is to find a way away from it. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's see. Give it time to adjust to allowance or acceptance, whichever word you prefer. For some, it doesn't matter to me. Give yourself the time it's going to take. It's not like, okay, I'm doing this acceptance allowance thing and it's going to just be like magic. Okay. It's effort, and it's retraining yourself. Every time you catch yourself falling into letting them get into your skin, letting them get in your head, right? That you come back to it. Okay. Allow yourself to relax into it. Don't punish yourself. Don't react to the cognitive dissonance. Stop overthinking the bad stuff and the good stuff. Just allow the thoughts that come up when you're in the cognitive dissonance or when you're in that to roll through and disappear. Get interested in something else, distract, find a way away from it, but don't hang on like, oh, I shouldn't be having these thoughts. Don't judge yourself. Stop judging yourself. You're learning and you're healing, and you have been mind messed with enough to where none of life makes much sense. Okay. So this is about you reclaiming your own life. It's going to take the time it takes. Don't judge yourself. Imagine yourself a little baby. You would never judge the little baby. Okay. You're learning. Um, don't agree or disagree. Just have an indifference toward the behavior. That is their perspective. The narcissistic person, the toxic person, whatever they are, it is their perspective and their choice to act that way. Whether or not we think it's uh, like choice as in making a choice, if they've been told enough times what they're doing and they haven't made an effort to change it or to at least acknowledge it or to catch it in the middle and say, oh, I did it again, right? Okay. Remember, you are doing this for you. You're not doing this to heal them. Your job is to heal you now. Unfortunately, you have been put in a position where there's healing to have that needs to happen. You have been put in a position by toxic people. It is our job to take care of ourselves once we have that realization and make the steps, take the steps, and find ways to get out of it. And it's going to be a different path for every person. And it's going to be different speeds. And there's going to be ebbs and flows. And there may be the rest of your life where there's good times, bad times as it relates to this, and triggers may come and go. That's just the nature of healing this stuff. Okay. It's okay. There's a lot of people going through this, and there's a lot of help to go through this. So, I mean, I have people that will talk to me a little bit and then disappear for a few years and then come back and talk to me for a little bit. And that's because they're in a different space. New layers have come up, new relationships have happened, and they need to work through their own stuff with it. Right. So, okay. Let's see. Something very good will come from this acceptance allowance. It will. Something very good will come. It's not going to be comfortable to get there, because to see the truth of someone who is that toxic is very ugly. It's very disheartening. It's upsetting. It's all of it. But then once you're past the emotional, like, oh my gosh, right? Once you're past that, it's freedom, because it is not about you. This person can only operate that way. So it's up to you to step away from it. And if you can't, it's up to you to find a way to have things in your life that are outside of it, so that you have some joys and some happiness, at least in a portion of your life. And that's unfortunate. And that's another topic. Okay. Learn from the relationship things that will help you evolve. And we talked about that a little bit. What were the things that are holding you in particular to needing to know, to needing to fix, to needing to get validation from, all of that. Okay. Separate your thinking from how a narcissist thinks. Stop thinking, just stop this one. Okay. I don't know how they could ever do that. How could a person be like that? Well, it's explained really easily. No accountability and no empathy, no active empathy. There's awareness, that kind of empathy, but there is an active empathy. That's the answer. That doesn't need much more. Everything relies on those two things. That creates being accountable to, being considerate of, being able to not negotiate, what's the word? Compromise in relationship. It requires empathy and accountability, those two things. It really does. They lack them. So, you separate that from you. That isn't you. Okay. And you can't make that person do those things, because they just inherently cannot. See the patterns. You see the patterns, you see it long enough, recognize it's a pattern. And what you'll see when you start watching patterns is that you're not following the pattern. You will for a while, and then you'll try something new. And if you think back over the years, you'll be like, wait, I tried 20 different ways to get that gaslighting to stop. And all it did was change the way the gaslighting happened. So, okay, allow that we all have flaws, okay? And you are not perfect. You're not supposed to be. And you did not let this happen. You did not let this happen. That's not what allowance means. Allowance does not mean now I let it happen. It's the opposite. It's you are you and I am me. They are them, right? Like each person is an individual. It's allowing people to be who they are, which is what we want, right? We want to be seen for who we are and accepted and loved. Some people say, oh, like they feel very guilty for seeing all the bad of a toxic person. That's just some people have that's the way their empathy works. But in truth, you're not allowing them to be who they are, which is not what you would want for yourself. You would want for yourself people to see you for who you are and love you anyway. Well, you wouldn't be doing these horrible things to people, right? So, totally different situation. So, okay, understand it's worse with them than it is alone. Almost always. It just is. Find humor in your life, find contrast, like I was saying earlier, find contrast in your life to show you that you actually can laugh. You actually can have fun. You actually can feel light and happy, just not around this toxic person. And then you will start to feel how heavy and horrible it is to be around a toxic person. And if you allow that feeling to be a truth, then it's obvious you can't be around them. It's obvious to step away, right? Um, See your thoughts as loops of brain activity. Okay. A lot of the things that happen, remember, there's a feedback loop that happens. There's our body, our emotions, and our brain. And when we have a thought and it makes an emotion and it sends a signal to the body to have attention or whatever, that loop keeps those feedback loop going, and it keeps the perseverating thoughts going. So break it by relaxing your body. There's lots of tips. We can go over that another time. So at least recognize it right now if you're looping, right? So mindfulness is important. Take some time each day for a mindfulness practice of your choice. Please, please. Um, there are so many resources out there for that in particular. You could just Google the word and you'll find it. Okay, there's nothing I'm going to recommend right now, but find something that helps you with that. Stop resisting healing. That's a big one. Stop resisting healing. Be open to change. I was trying to explain to someone today that, there's opportunity for them. And the opportunity is something they don't want to do. The reason they don't want to do it is they have preconceived notions about what the thing is. So let's say it's getting a new job. This is not what it is, but let's say it's getting a new job. And it's a new job in a new industry. It's something they'd be good at. It's something they're qualified for, but they resist it because it's not exactly right. It's not the perfect thing. It doesn't say the hours are slightly shifted from what they want. And they can make every reasonable answer as to why that won't work for them. They're resisting the change. What they're actually resisting, like say this is actually a really great move for them, and they're just resisting it. We've all done it, right? Not in that particular situation, but in our lives, right? So what they're actually resisting is change. What they're actually resisting is being open to their life being anything other than what they know, even though they want complete overhaul. And it's about being open and making choice from that open place rather than from the resistance. And that, again, takes time to get to. Okay, I have a couple more. See it as a choice and take your power. Start to see that you're breaking trauma bonds. You're going no contact with a toxic person. You're staying no contact with a toxic person. All of that, if it is within your power, sometimes it is not. But if it is, that it is your choice and you have the right to that choice and the right to a happy existence in your life that does not include toxic people. Let go of judging yourself. Big, huge one. Please stop judging yourself. Please, you won't get anywhere judging yourself. I promise you, you won't get anywhere. You will get into a deeper pit, a different pit. All right. It's never productive to judge yourself unless the thing you're doing is truly illegal, harmful, or terrible, right? Then maybe a little judgment might be a good idea. But for the most part, when it comes to our healing, saying this is taking me too long, I'm stupid, I shouldn't, all of that doesn't help. And I have done videos on stopping judging yourself, and we'll do more. And that is a big one for coaching if you need it. Okay, so there's that. All right. And the last one I have here is define what you want and need for your life. Okay. This is about allowance we're talking about today. So if you can define what it is you want and need in relationships, or you want and need in things, or what do you require for your life to be the way you want it to go? And then look at that person and see if they actually fit that description. Probably not. Okay, I'm going to go to the chat right now and Otherwise, I'm gonna head out in just a few minutes. So let's see here. Um, I'm gonna go way back, and I can't see because my screen. Oh, you know what? I can turn up my oops, my brightness. How do you do that? Like this? Yay! Okay. Okay, we have to go way back. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Hello, UNA and Barbara and Chris, and I know I saw T in here and Mystique and Dale. Um, when gray rocking, withholding empathy from the narcissist, now they claim you're the narcissist. Oh yeah, because they got to twist everything and become the victim, right? Of course. And see, that's why um, it's never useful to continue trying to relate to them from any logic, from any place of reason, because they're just going to twist everything. Um, they silent treatment you. Oh yeah, and then claim you did the silent on them. Oh yeah. See, it's pointless. So it allow them to be what they are, right? You don't want to depend on their warped opinion. Anyway, says Barbara. No, you do not. And thank you guys for coming in here without any notice. That was great. So let's see. Hey, Stanley. Healthy people stay in their own lane. Yes, they do. They stay in their own lane. They float in their own boat, right? And they pass fairly when they're passing lanes, and they signal, and they they give warning to other people in their lane, right? So okay. Let's see. Emotional intelligence is knowing what your lane is and staying in it. Exactly, Barbara. And also, it's in realizing when you've just jumped lanes and knowing how to be accountable and apologize or step back, give space, right? Okay. Hi, Dulce Sueños. Thank you for coming here. Let's see. Stanley saying our abuse conditioned us to worry about what others think about us. Healthy equals what people think is none of my business. Isn't that true? And isn't that a really, really big place to work for a lot of us toward, of course, it's important to, well, it's not important. Let's just say if we were all nice and we were all like considerate of others, to give others space, to be kind, to be thoughtful in a way that is also allowing self to be self, that'd be nice. It's not gonna happen in this world, like, with everyone, but it can happen within healthy relatings, right? But we need to stop worrying about what others think of us. In other words, stop looking for love in all the wrong places, right? Okay. Um you don't have to UNA is saying you don't have to accept toxic behavior, except only that there's nothing you can do about it. Yes. And realize you can leave the situation instead if you can. Correct. Yes. Exactly. You don't have to accept the behavior. You don't have to allow the behavior to happen to you, but you can allow them to be them. All right. Let's see. Hey Chris, let's see. There's a lot. Okay, Barbara's saying there's a lot of power to be gained by being in the presence of a bully and maintaining self-control. That's so hard, isn't it? Excuse me, isn't it? It is. But yes, it's when you can literally hand back that energy and say, I'm not taking that from you. I'm not accepting it. No, thank you. Don't want your gift of toxicity. And it truly moves through you. It just blows through like hot air, right? And then it's powerful. Absolutely. The more you do it, the more power you feel. It's actually rewarding. It's actually relaxing too, isn't it? It's a sort of rush of energy and then relaxation. T, I will now claim terminal uniqueness in being scapegoat deity. Okay. And what else here? Cynthia, hello. I'm living with a controlling sibling. Due to the age and health, I cannot leave. She took the family inheritance from me, bullies me. Oh, so this is one of those situations where I would not take it personal. In other words, be as on the defense as you can by learning to gray rock in a way that does not provoke or agitate, there's a certain amount of walking on eggshells that has to happen, right? Because you're living with it. But it doesn't have to mean that those like, you can actually wear shoes while you're doing it. You don't have to be barefoot on the eggshells. You can recognize that this person won't change and do your best. I mean, she took the inheritance. She could be narcissistic as well. Do your best to have what you can outside of that dynamic, right? That is happy for you. Finding peace elsewhere, like I said, to give you some relief. Sometimes it's about the contrast, like go out and if you're stuck in a relationship, you just can't leave, but you actually physically could. And you go out and you find contrast in the world, like, wow, I really enjoy riding a bicycle. I really enjoy this. I really enjoy my friends, whatever, but I don't enjoy it when I'm home. It's uncomfortable with this toxic person. And you let that happen and let that friction be there. Then you can very clearly see that, oh, it's cognitive dissonance holding me here and be able to get out. In your situation, it's more about finding joy so that you have relief, so that it's not 24/7 always the toxic. Does that make sense? And I'm sorry that situation is tough to be in. Let's see here. Any more? Um, and she has financial control. Ugh. Mm. You were so Chris is saying she was so resistant at first and sabotaged myself a lot. I think a lot of us do that, especially smart people. It seems like, right? Um, let's see. Okay. I don't I'm trying to read and I'm not talking at the same time. Okay. All right, you guys, I need to head out and I will be back next week with another live. Otherwise, I will be back with videos probably tomorrow for the rest of the week. So stay tuned, share this info, share these videos, hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe, all that stuff. Okay. And I will see you guys next week. Um, Okay. Oh, I like what you're saying there, Stanley, though. I don't like that you're feeling it, but I've noticed a lot of my anger stems from allowing others to influence my decision, my inability to say no and maintain boundaries. Ooh, I would love to talk about that on its own. I'm going to write that down. Okay. I'd love to talk more about that because it's important because you figure that piece out, your freedom is right there, my friend. Right. Okay. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye bye.